We got Senator Roger Wicker on with us. Good morning, sir. How are you? It's good to have you.
I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well. Glad to hear your voice.
Doing good, and I thank you. You're in Washington, or are you back home for a second?
I'm in Washington, D.C.
God bless you, man. I feel for you. Have you ever, and you've been doing this for a while now, have you ever seen things as bizarre as they are now?
Oh, a lot of bizarre stuff, from these indictments and show trials. But what I'm worried about is this axis of aggression that we're seeing played out between Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un, and Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping in China, and the coordination that we see between all three of these guys in Iran, the Ayatollah there. We've just never seen our enemies team up, and it's so hard to know about that when there's so much nonsense going on our streets, so much crime, so many millions pouring over the border. Yeah, it's how many hours you got?
Well, when things are this serious, and have you had a meeting with the president privately or with a group of people as far as your committee is concerned, and said, "Look, we have a serious problem here"? Have you had any meeting like that at the White House?
I talked to White House officials, but no, I haven't talked to Joe Biden in a couple of years.
Yeah.
We did have a wonderful meeting a week ago today. Between our Republican conference of senators and Donald Trump. And I have to tell you, I'm feeling very optimistic about the election. I still think there's a lot that needs to be done in the next 4 months.
Yeah.
But we had a very good discussion about a number of topics, including the fact that our Navy and our military are not where they need to be. And Donald Trump has some good ideas about turning that around, and so he was very specific, and it was good to have that conversation between who we hope will be the next president and folks that will be the next committee chairman.
I'm glad to hear you say that, Senator, because I got to tell you, and I think I reflect the feelings of a lot of people in this audience statewide, is we're worried. And if you ask us the percentage of trust we have that this next election is going to be done fairly, it's not going to get over 50% for most of us. We believe that there's going to be another round of shenanigans that's going on, and we hope and pray that the new leadership in the GOP in the committees are and I know they're working grassroots levels here at home. Mike Hurst is going to do a good job. But we're just hoping nationwide we're able to stop some of this one way or the other. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think Chairman Hurst is going to be a great leader. And Frank Bordeaux did a great job, too. I think we'll be fine in Mississippi if everybody votes, if people don't get discouraged. But one thing that I'm glad to see that we're getting away from is waiting till election day to vote. If the other party isn't going to do that, and if the law in the various states allow us, we ought to bank those votes early. And so I'm glad to see Donald Trump saying that now. I'm glad to see people at the Republican National Committee level saying that now. But sometimes it snows on election day. It's the reason we lost the Senate race. Really, the reason we lost the Senate race in Nevada 2 years ago was because it snowed in northern Nevada and Republicans had not voted early. So I think we'll see that. But on the election integrity issue, we just have to be vigilant. I know this: the law is better now in Georgia. They have made it clear that you have to actually comply with the law to vote early, and so I think there's going to be a lot more safeguards, and we just have to do our part.
How do you describe?
Turn it in if we see anything.
How do you
say something.
I hate to try to squeeze in so much. We have so limited time here with you. Need about 2 hours. But how do you kind of touched on that meeting with Donald Trump? Some of the news media on the liberal side have been saying he was disjointed. He didn't know what he was talking about. He was disoriented in some cases. And I thought they were talking about Biden, but this is what the Joe Scarborough and the CNN people were talking about. And you said you were in that meeting?
Absolutely. I was in that meeting, and I'd say probably 47, 48 of us got there. It was across it was a few blocks away from the Capitol, and some folks didn't make it, but it was a good crowd, and it was a very good meeting, very substantive and very supportive. And this is a time when Republicans need to be unified. So that the president was sitting there. Right around the corner of the table from Mitch McConnell, and they were making nice, and it was all positive and supportive, and the kind of things that we need to be doing to pull everybody together for November. So it was a good meeting. Of course, the president went on and on about a number of issues, and the insights into what he's thinking. I thought. I think he's got a real winner on lifting the tax burden on waiters and waitresses and taking the tax burden away from tips. I think he's got a real winner there. We could do it without busting the budget. So, we discussed a lot of things, but we did discuss my top issue, which is this National Defense Authorization Act that I was able to get amended last week in the Armed Services Committee to increase our defense spending and build some more ships and jet airplanes. And, we do much of that in Mississippi, from the top of the Tennessee line and the Mississippi River on down to the Gulf of Mexico. We are a defense industrial base state, not to mention that we punch way above our weight in keeping America safe.
Let me ask you about the other conflict out there. This is what Netanyahu said.
When Secretary Blinken was recently here in Israel, we had a candid conversation. I said I deeply appreciated the support the U.S. has given Israel from the beginning of the war. But I also said something else. I said it's inconceivable that in the past few months, the administration has been withholding weapons and ammunition to Israel. Israel, America's closest ally, fighting for its life, fighting against Iran and our other common enemies. Secretary Blinken assured me that the administration is working day and night to remove these bottlenecks. I certainly hope that's the case. It should be the case. During World War II, Churchill told the United States, "Give us the tools, we'll do the job." And I say, give us the tools and we'll finish the job a lot faster.
This is June 20th. And most people in the state, I think this, that he's playing politics as far as Joe Biden's concerned. That's a long way till November to make a decision on that.
Listen, half measures don't work when you're working with a terrorist group. And the only way to deal with Hamas is to literally wipe them off the face of the earth. Hamas is different from Palestinians at large. Palestinians have a right to exist and to live and to choose their own government, and nobody's against that. But Hamas is a small group of terrorists, and the only reason they exist, their sole reason for being, is to destroy the state of Israel and their friends, which includes the United States of America. So there's no reason at all to leave a remnant of Hamas. There's no reason at all to lose this opportunity to wipe them off the face of the earth and get rid of at least that Iranian proxy terrorist group. And so it's always been frustrating to me of whatever the Biden administration's doing, whether it's Afghanistan, whether it's our friends in Europe, or whether it's this situation in Gaza and with our Israeli friends, don't do the half measures. Either be all in or all out. But there's no way to parcel this out and to talk about a peace treaty with a group that has no other purpose than to wipe.
We got a break coming up. And it just seems like he's trying to please both sides and look for the next poll to come out, which he must have liked the one by Fox yesterday. Can you believe that poll showed him up by 2 points, and I'm not sure what the questions were. I want to ask you about that, but I also want to ask you about some meetings that have been going on as far as Homeland Security and others, and I'm not sure if you guys have been part of any of those meetings, but it just seems like the red flags are flying about an almost imminent attack in this country like 9/11. And I want to ask you about that when we come back with Roger Wicker right after this. With the ranking member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, the 118th Congress, I believe it is, and 17 years to get to that level, and hopefully the next one would snatch the gavel away from that. Let me choose my words careful. Guy over there named what's his name? I forget his name.
Well, the chairman is Jack Reed, and his problem is that he takes his orders from
Schumer.
Chuck Schumer from Queens.
Yes.
Who's the senator from New York.
Yes.
And that's a real problem. And by the way, I am this week calling on Leader Schumer to bring the National Defense Authorization Bill to the floor. Don't try to do it behind closed doors. Let the Senate vote on this and shine the light of day on our debate about whether to adequately increase our national defense budget.
If he doesn't do that, then what happens to that? What's the delay process?
He much prefers to write it himself and find some emergency. The government's about to run out of money, or there's some deadline coming up, and you either pass it along with a bunch of must-pass bills, or the world comes to an end. That's what he likes to do, and this is half of our appropriations bills. This is more than all the other appropriation bills put together. It authorizes those amounts that the Appropriations Committee will look to, and it's too important of a debate to have for Chuck Schumer to be bringing assistant secretaries and international nominees to the floor instead of substitute votes. We've done very, very little in terms of legislation this whole year and the year's half over.
Yeah. I hate to sound like Gene Psaki back to rewind to her, but I need to circle back on a topic that you were talking about. We've become kind of like that proverbial frog in the pot that's heating up, and not because we want to, it's just kind of forced to. We have Russia this close to our territorial waters, and we just take that for normal. And even the news media doesn't seem to be that upset about it.
Right. Why is it that the lead story?
Yes.
That Russia has nuclear submarines in Cuba, playing around there and really showing a sign of strength and basically tweaking our nose, showing that they can do that without much of a fuss. But, you were going to mention the terrorist attack.
Yes.
The possibility inside the United States. Nobody really knows the correct number, but I think you and I agree 10 million people have gotten across improperly and illegally during this president's term. It's only been 3.5 years, and Paul, he promised to do that when he ran for office. It's one of the first things he did. So, watch what he says and watch what he has done. But who in their right mind could think that out of 10 million people coming in unvetted, there wouldn't be at least 100, perhaps hundreds of absolutely paid, trained, skillful terrorists? There's no way around that, and so it's much more of a burden now for our Homeland Security people.
Well, not only
like to defend our country.
Not only from Muslim countries, but we're talking about all over the world. China too. China has got just almost like a free pass to come in, and we've heard some stories about that. But when you hear people in New York and other places in the Homeland Security talking about the FBI and Christopher Wray talking about we're raising the red flags and it's tense out there, folks. That doesn't give us any confidence that people are able to stop this.
Well, it's tense out there, and I'll tell you, it's no time to be spending 2.9% of our economy only on defense. The next, and I have to get back to the National Defense Authorization Bill that I helped preside over. Our next war is going to be fought not only on land and sea, but it's going to be fought with lasers. And we're not ready on directed energy. It's going to be fought from space, and we are not keeping up with our adversaries on space. And this is something that I don't really like. I hate to see space weaponized, but it was not the United States that did that. But we're not ready there. No. And honestly, I'm talking across the aisle. We need to have a national conversation about this. But we can take the steps to protect ourselves, but we need to act now, and we need to put it off till after the next presidential election.
The computer's going to take us away in about 15 seconds, but don't be a stranger. I was going to ask you about this thing in Tunica with the Nicaraguans there, and if you're aware of that, we'll catch you on the next time.
And I think we've got it stopped, Paul. I think we've got it stopped.
Thank you.